That's how you can tell people are like they had a horrible childhood by how many hugs they need as like as a drunk, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's where it comes out.
Sam Morril is here.
Thanks for having me again.
No problem. It's nice to have you back.
Good to be here, man.
You were on Conan this week?
Yeah.
How did that go? Was that fun?
That was good. I was in L.A. I hate L.A. so much.
Really?
Yeah. I was at the Comedy Store.
The legendary Comedy Store, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool club, but I was on some show, and it was... it's like they have no host, so each comic brings up the next comic. So Kevin Nealon is on before me, you know, from like SNL, Kevin Nealon, and
he's great, yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. It's funny, I've worked with him before. This is why there's even more disheartening is he's on before me, and he's like, your next comedian, you've seen him from his Netflix special, from his podcast. Give it up for Chris Titus. And I'm just back there like, what? That's not me. And then a waitress is like, no, it's not him, it's Sam Morril. And he just goes, who? And it gets a huge laugh.
Oh, man.
I was like, that shouldn't have gotten that big a laugh. No. And then he brings me up, and then I go on and kind of dig out of that hole, and then I bring on Donnell Rawlings, you know, from like Chappelle Show. And I give him this big intro. I'm like, I'm gonna give him a really nice intro. He seems like a nice guy. And then I bring him up, and he's just not there. I was like, this is a mess.
Why are they doing it that way?
I think Donnell's a different story. I think he was like in high out back or something.
But I mean, the standard thing is to have an MC, an opener, or, you know.
I think they normally have one, but I think it's just like it was like a different show.
A different show that night. All right.
Was Chris Titus anywhere to be had?
No. I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lenny Bruce. You know, but it is, and you know, working as a comic and doing as well as you have for a long time, I don't care how good you are, you have like a misstep introduction or something that throws the room off a little bit, and it will screw things up.
Yeah, it can be. You never know. I mean, like I followed Jean-Claude Van Damme on Conan, so you're like, oh, this isn't exactly the perfect intro for what I do. But
it's the new half-hour version of Conan.
Yeah.
Now, it seems to be the same. He's doing a lot more out and about, you know, traveling around stuff and those kind of segments. But did it feel different, or is it?
No, it's always really nice there. It's like, it's so laid back. Every other late night show is like, don't say, like, every word has to be exactly that. On Conan, I'm like, can I open with this new dick joke? And they're like, sure.
He loves you. He loves you. Right?
Why not? They're so laid back.
Sam, I got to point out one of your tweets that you had the other day, though, that said no reasonable career choice pays in drink tickets.
Yeah, you know what?
Which I would imagine you get as well, right?
Yeah, they're like, do you want a drink ticket? And yeah, so there's a point of your career where you're like, you're damn right I do. You know, you think I'm going to come here just for free? I'm going to drink what I should have been paid.
Do you take all this? Because I for a while I did stand up, and there was a lot of fond memories of stuff that wasn't so fond when it was actually going on.
Yeah.
Do you accrue those? And
Sure.
Sure,
yeah. I even now in the moment I have a better attitude about stuff because, you know, at the time sometimes you're like, what the hell is my life? But then you look back and you're like, well, I'm glad I work for, you know, a crazy alcoholic racist club owner because where the hell else am I going to see that again? You know, it's like there was this guy.
It's almost precious.
Yeah. He's like almost like, well, you're like out of place and time. This is fun. Like this guy. There's this guy Bobby in Tampa. I still play his club all the time.
Oh, you've mentioned this guy. Yeah,
Bobby Jewell. He's like, he's the funniest.
Yeah.
He's like, I go there every year, and every time this guy's just hammered. He's like 58, and he just kills a bottle of whiskey, and he's like, "You pussy, you can't keep up." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to kill myself, you know." Like,
you got into was he the one you kind of got into it? You were telling us a story about somebody who was really maybe it's this guy because I think you'd mentioned him and that he's real difficult to work with, right?
No, he's not really difficult.
Okay.
It's just he's like a kind of a fun. He's a classic drunk, where he's like he'll trash you for like a good hour, and then he's like, "Give me a hug."
I don't want to.
Yeah. That's how you can tell people are like they had a horrible childhood by how many hugs they need as like as a drunk, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's where it comes out. Yeah.
But you try to they try to work that thing like, well, you know, I'm not, you know, and I never tolerate that, you know.
It's kind of fun. funny. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I know what you mean, but it's also like this guy is one of the. He's like that. He's like a sitcom drunk, where it's not even like where like he'll just walk in to the bar and pause like he expects applause when he walks in. It's like that level of drunk.
That's funny.
Sam, you tweeted out the other day about Fat Jew stealing some of your material, and we talked over the last week or so about Fat Jew and F. Jerry, and there's been this blowback over the last week plus, especially from comedians. There was the hashtag of FF Jerry.
Yeah.
What was stolen from you, and what was the response?
Well, I had two things stolen. I had that porn joke was stolen, and I wouldn't have been as. I know jokes get taken all the time. I don't really, but he had just taken Michael Che's joke about how Che used to have a joke. It was really funny about how some people are against bacon for religious reasons. And he said, "I'm against religion for bacon reasons."
Right.
And that was like an old Michael Che joke, and it was like verbatim. Then mine was like verbatim, and I emailed him, and he because I knew someone who knew him. And he didn't write back, but he pulled the joke. So to me, that's an admission of guilt.
What if they take the material and give credit? Because there are these amalgamators.
I'm totally cool with that.
Okay.
There's this guy, Tank Sinatra, who's the man. I love Tank, and he's like one of those guys. But he goes, like these other guys, like Fat Jew, they want to be known as like geniuses, so they go out of their way to take the name
and
out.
they try to come across as content creators. Years ago, there was a site that E-Baum's World or something like that. They got in trouble all the time for putting up stuff. You know, listen. You give credit, that's cool, but this is your livelihood.
And also the cool thing, like I remember Tank posted one of my bits, and like he's like, follow this guy, he's working really. I mean, like there are people that support you, and then there's people that are just thieves, you know.
Yeah.
Like these, like Fat Jew is like Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street, but it's intellectual property, and he's fat and ugly, and gross looking. But no, these guys make a ton of money. It's messed up, and I remember there's another bit they took. I think they just watch late night sets and because like why not?
And just pilfer?
So yeah, I had a bit about how obsessed with my phone I am and how I can't have conversations with people,
right?
Just like without wanting to reach for my phone. So like I wish when people were telling you stories, you could tap their face like in a YouTube video, and it would tell you how much time is left. And it was another bit they jacked, and I was like, they're just taking my material.